let's make lemonade. Okay. Let's go to work.
That's the signal. Go. Go. 6. It's beautiful. Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude!
Start your day with a jolt of energy and no-holds-barred opinions. This is The Rush, where Travis Justice and Ross Peterson bring you bold, unfiltered, and uncensored takes on sports, life, and everything in between. Buckle up and let's go.
The Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive. Good to have you along on a Wednesday. It's colder than hell outside. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video, and also set up your notifications so you know when we go live. Follow us on X at Rush Mornings. Like our Facebook page. Just search The Rush with Travis and Ross. And, of course, you can follow us on Instagram. Just search The Rush Radio Show. Hello, Mr. Ross Peterson.
What's up, buddy? All right, so one of my things with forecasts.
Yeah.
I like to live in the moment, you know that. But with forecasts, I find myself being affected by the future forecast. So like last week, when I was looking up and seeing 11 degrees below zero, it made last week colder. But now what I do is I look ahead. Dude, 50 degrees next Monday. 50 degrees next Monday.
I'm wearing flip-flops and shorts when it's 50 degrees outside. I'm like, okay.
Especially after a temperature swing like this. We're in a week, we're going to go from 11 below to 50 above. A 62-degree temperature swing.
So you're already starting to warm up, because when I first saw you this morning, you were bundled up, man. You had the blanket wrapped around you. I thought, boy, he's going to be like on full display for the show. He's like going to show people how cold he is.
I should have worn my toque. Should have had my toque on. I was wearing a nice Hawkeye toque last night. I went down to El Bait Shop, took the kids, and one of Eli's buddies, Ryan, took them down to El Bait for dinner last night. Wore my Hawkeye toque, and then got back in time for tip-off with for Iowa State.
What did you have for dinner at El Bait Shop? And did you drink a beer at El Bait Shop?
Dude, no, I did not have a beer. I had the Rare Bit. Audrey ordered 2 pizza puffs, which was aggressive.
2 pizza puffs. Did she eat them all, though?
Eli and Ryan each ordered wings. Ryan ordered like Thai peanut or something like that, and then Eli ordered like a more traditional one. Ryan didn't care too much for his, but I did like those. They were good. And then each of the pizza pockets, half of each pizza pocket was eaten. So cumulatively, 1 pizza pocket was consumed, and then the other 2 halves were merged into pizza pocket 2B. And that was taken home by young Mr. Ryan. He took that as the end of his meal.
Now, do the pizza pockets at El Bait Shop come in 1, or do they come in? Is the meal 2?
The meal is you get 2, so you can buy 1, but then if you get 2, it comes with the side. It's like an entree, and they're like the most beautiful pizza puff you've ever seen. It comes out and you're like, oh, that's a pastry.
You know, when I was down in Santa Fe, it wasn't a pizza puff, but you know how you get chips and salsa at a lot of Mexican restaurants?
Yeah. At every Mexican restaurant, you mean? You mean every Mexican restaurant?
Well, I was in Santa Fe, and I went to Tomasitas, which is like one of the oldest restaurants in New Mexico. Been there in Santa Fe. Been there like well over 50 years. And instead of chips and salsa with your meal, you get sopapillas that are like this big, and they're puffy.
What's a sopapilla?
It's just a pastry that's like fried, and it balloons up. It's really thin, and then you pour honey on it. And so instead of chips and salsa, they give you large. That. Yes, and I'm like, okay, you want to charge me for chips and salsa, but you want to give me basically a full meal before I sit down. You start with dessert. It's kind of interesting. And then you kind of have enough left over for when your really spicy stuff comes out. Because I don't know if you know about this, but New Mexico is the chili capital of the United States, like the chili pepper.
Yeah, and I'm surprised by that because I thought those were all made in like North Carolina.
And the chili sauces in Santa Fe were absolutely amazing.
Oh man, this is authentic Mexican restaurant because what we get up here is not authentic Mexican restaurant. I've been told, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is all I've ever had. All I've ever had is Iowa Mexican restaurant. Now that's not true. No, we didn't ever go to a Mexican restaurant in Spain.
No, you went to a Spanish restaurant. Hey, you guys want some Mexican tonight? We're in Spain. Let's go to a Mexican restaurant.
One of the guys on the trip at one night, he said, "You guys are gonna think I'm crazy. I need a hamburger."
No, that's not crazy.
He's like, "I'm going someplace that I can get a hamburger." And he came back and he said, "I just had the world's greatest hamburger."
It's funny that you say that. When I was in...
Sorry, if you can't tell, the coffee's just about done.
Yeah, it is... I was in Florence in December of 2023 with Dave Lubbers, former Drake walk-on. And I went to McDonald's for the first time in Florence, and it was like the best McDonald's I've ever had. Maybe it's because it was like...
What does an NCAA Division I athlete like Dave Lubbers consume at a McDonald's? Does he just get water? Get a cup of fruit?
I think he got a hamburger too. But when it's like 1 a.m. and nothing else is open, and you're starving, it's always the greatest meal you've ever had. 515-517-2303 is the number to call. Who's joining us? Who is this?
This is Scott.
Hey, Scott, what's going on, man?
Not too much. How are you guys this morning?
Good.
Is this by chance the Scott we gave the tickets to yesterday?
It is.
Oh, nice.
Did you have fun last night, Scott?
Yeah. We had a ton of fun. I took my buddy Jordan. I live up by Waterloo. He lives in Hudson, so grabbed him late night. Ton of fun. Obviously, Colorado is not a good basketball team.
Yeah.
So the game was never in doubt and kind of boring, but we went early, went to Johnny's, found our seats, and then we decided every TV timeout we were going to hop around, don't tell anybody, and found a couple open seats, and ended up sitting by Williams' buddy Adam Carper for most of the second half.
Very cool. That's a really, really good dude, Adam Carper.
Yeah, he very much is, and I know him from tailgating in the RV lot a little bit too. So, yeah, great night. Very, very fun. Jordan had a ton of fun.
Well, that's awesome. Hey, could you do me a favor? You said you live up by Waterloo. Could you tell the people over on the eastern half of the state about this show? Cool. That's good. We need the advocates
every day.
Thanks,
That
brother.
is awesome that you're from. Man, this is so just behind the scenes. I'm amazed at how awesome this is. We were able to get tickets from a listener, from a listener who didn't even want to be known. He sent me a text that said, "Hey, I've got these tickets I can't use. If you can give them away on the show to somebody that can use them, that'd be great." We were able to turn that text message and then get these tickets to a guy in Waterloo. And your buddy is from where?
Hudson.
So we could have never pulled this off under the glacier's pace and pressure that we used to live under.
That's what's awesome, right?
Thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate you calling in, and I'm glad you had fun.
Well, thank you for doing that yesterday. That was a ton of fun.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for listening, too. We very much appreciate it. Thanks, Scott.
And remember,
have a good day, guys.
You can be like Scott. You can win tickets, too. It's very easy. All you got to do is, number one, you got to listen to the show. Number two, you got to pay attention to those opportunities. But then number three, you got to do some crazy shit and then share it with us. That's simple. Very easy, just like Scott.
What I like about that is it shows you the how far out we go, right? Because Waterloo's it's not an easy. You just go over Highway 20, but it's fairly easy to get to Ames. But you still got to make a commitment. I mean, people from Des Moines drive to Iowa City for an Iowa game, but people from the eastern half of the state come over for an Iowa State game. But you don't have to be restricted either. We can give away whatever we want. Ross is right. If people only knew how hard it was to give something away, if somebody offered it, you know.
We had the guy. Remember the guy that gave us the tickets to the Big 12 tournament? We can say it. Our buddy Chad down in Kansas City, who used to listen to the show all the time, and he would call. Chad had this connection to this great stuff, and he used to say, "Hey, every now and again, I can get these things and maybe hook you guys up with it." And there was, a few little things that he requested or that his boss would request. Either A, mention us, B, don't mention us. Those were every year. It was one of those things. And one of the years, he called like a week beforehand and said, "Hey, I've got that stuff set up, but we don't need any mention at all. Here are the tickets, give them away." And we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. You know why we couldn't do it? Because we weren't going to make any money out of it. Not we.
The corporation.
I heard, this corporation wasn't going to be able to feed some of their debt off of a free giveaway for their listeners, so they wouldn't do it. Okay. Now it's this quick. Text message. Oh, cool. Hey, let's come up with a fun idea on the fly. Let's do this thing. Got a couple of good stories. Heard from a guy that was at the Kenny Pratt game. And then a guy gets two dudes that haven't been to a game together in a long time that live on opposite in different towns, get to hang out, and we're able to do that in lightning speed. Sweet.
That's awesome.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Scott, for calling in.
As Brian says, red tape sucks. It does. Red tape sucks, and that's the great thing about what Ross and I are doing here is there's no red tape. You throw an idea our way. If we like it, we might go, okay, yeah, we can do that. I know somebody wrote on our Facebook page yesterday, one of you guys planning the first Rush road trip. And I'm like, I don't know if we mentioned the Rush road trip, but Ross and I have actually been talking about Rush road trips.
I didn't see that on the. Did somebody really put that in the message? Because we didn't talk about this, did we?
We did not talk about this.
Do you want to talk about what you're? Because I promise you, if you mention your idea, we're going to get flooded with suggestions.
Yes.
We'll get 100 of them.
So what Ross and I want to do is maybe start out like once a month, and maybe when we get to the summertime, maybe once a week, depending on how much time we have. But we want to go visit like towns that are very unique, that have something unique in them, and just spend a day there, eat at a local cafe, spend some time with people, and get to know that town. I was throwing examples out of there. I thought of Ross this past weekend. I'm like, we could go to Elkhorn. And we could go to Elkhorn because the name Peterson is of Danish descent. Well, we could go to the windmill. We could go to the Danish museum, do the genealogy thing to see if Ross has any genealogy from the Danish ancestors.
Dude, how about this?
Go to the home of Jan Jensen in Kimballton.
We could actually meet somewhere like near Atlantic and drive north towards Okoboji. And there's a route that would take you through towns named Ross, Arthur, and Peterson.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anything in those towns like we could stop and eat, or we could stop and hang out.
I think two of them are total map dots. I think Peterson has some stuff in it.
Now, Cole puts on the chat, which I think is a good idea, and I want to do it, is you and I on a tandem rail car in Boone.
Now, okay, again, I'm going to ride the fence here, Cole. I want to do that.
But he wants to do it with his girlfriend.
I'd really like to do it with Courtney.
He doesn't want to hold my hand. He doesn't want to cross the big bridge, hold my hand, and go, here we go. It's like Thelma and Louise.
Should we take a selfie? Want to do a selfie, Trev? Let's do another one. That one wasn't good. Let's turn around and do another one.
You're so right. The suggestions are coming in. We can go to Cumming, which would be fitting for this show. We could go to New Virginia for the Old Settlers celebration.
Been to Old Settlers in New Virginia. Been there.
So that's kind of an idea we have. Just get in a car one day and take our camera and go document it and then share it and then hang out with people. That's what we're going to do sometime. We don't know
and that's the thing. And I remember we had a conversation one time and took phone calls about like all of these fun summer celebrations that happen in Des Moines. Old Settlers is a great example of that. What's the hobo days that happens in man? I can't think. But like some people are putting like Williams just put Knoxville. We don't want to do the big towns that have a national draw. That's kind of what we wanted to avoid was towns just smaller than Knoxville, I guess. That's going to be the theme.
By the way, Hobo Days is in Britt.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Coach Hersom and Cole and a whole bunch of people now. Hobo Days. Thank you.
Now, didn't Britt or does Britt have like a really good like high school wrestling team or did?
I'm sure they did.
The schools I remember are always from like state wrestling because I'd watch state wrestling on public television back in the day, and I'd become familiar with all these schools and all these towns.
Yeah.
There's two things that helped me with Iowa geography was the state wrestling tournament, the state girls and boys basketball tournament, and when you went to the basketball tournament, the map that was always in Vets Auditorium that had the lights. Remember the lights,
yes.
Ross?
Yeah. Each county had a light.
Yes.
And then as a little kid, I loved that. Loved it. I mean, my dad was from Burlington, and so we went to that southeast part of the state. But that was it. We never really traveled to the southwest or the southeast or the northwest part of the state. I mean, we were Des Moines, Burlington. And then when we drove to Wisconsin, if you went through Dubuque, that was like going through the mountains. I'm not kidding you.
No, I get it.
You were going through roads that were cut through rocks. Now, granted, it was only 8 foot of rock, but you still were like, whoa, where are the hills?
You're like, wow, watch for falling rock. I was in Santa Fe, and you had to watch for falling rock. You're probably driving through Dubuque going, is rock going to fall on us?
Yeah, your watch for falling rock is look straight up. This watch for falling rock is check the horizon.
Oh, yeah. Lots of good suggestions coming in. St. Patrick's Day in Emmitsburg. That would be fun, except I'm going to be in Italy during St. Patrick's Day, so I won't be able to do a St. Patrick's Day celebration. But, we're going to hit one, and we're going to hit multiple. It's just not going to be a one-time thing. But, yeah, think smaller town with something very, very unique. And we'll go all over the state. We can make a weekend of it.
Thousands. Travis, take a guess at how many towns there are in the state of Iowa.
How many towns there are?
How many towns?
There's
including
99 towns. There's 99 counties.
All the way down to Jacksonville, Iowa, that has 6 people in it.
I'm going to say in the state of Iowa with 99 counties, let's say there are 56,000 towns.
Oh, wow. You went way over.
Okay. You're like, that was a dumb answer.
1,018 is the number.
Oh, no, that's lower than I thought it would have been. With 99 counties. Okay. There's how many again?
1,018. Now, a handful of those are under 10. And a lot of them, 200 of them are under 100. Wow, this is fat. I'm going to have fun with this because there are so many towns.
I grew up in a town of 393. And after the tornado last summer, Minden might be actually less than that now. I don't know. I'm not going to go to Minden because it's not unique to me, though they do need some help because the town was devastated because of a tornado. But the bowling alley isn't even a bowling alley anymore because they can't get the parts to fix the bowling alley. It's like just 6 lanes sitting there. The heart of the town is gone, the bowling alley. But it does have a bar and a grocery store. But that's about it. 515-517-2303. Let's go to John. John, welcome to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
2 quick things. Love the new format. It's amazing. Super easy to listen to on my drive down to Des Moines. I wanted to suggest when you go to one of these little towns or something, because Iowa is so well known for every little town has a 9-hole golf course. You could play 9 holes in each of those little golf courses. While you do your trip around Iowa.
Yes. Yes. See, that's what we need.
That could be like
thousands of them. Every course, every town has one.
John, that's a great idea. There are so many of these towns in Iowa that have these, because I did a couple of them. I did one of them last year. Remember me telling you, Trav, I found that little private course up outside of Ames. It was like north, It was east of Ames, about 15 miles or so. It was literally an old 40-acre farm.
I live in Ames.
Do you know what I'm talking about there, John?
Yeah, I think it's in Colo, Twin Acres maybe. Is
that was
on
it.
Like a little RV. Yeah.
I think that was it. It was, like, I hate to be corny. It was the cutest little golf course I've ever been to.
And what you think is, and this is where your brain plays with you, right? You're like, oh, small town, not very many trees. I'm going to tear this course up. And then you realize you play golf just like you play golf anywhere else.
Suck.
Is it
down, plates so you can't keep them on?
Good call. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Or go ahead.
Yeah, I had one other really quick thing. I've been listening to your Santa Fe stories. That is my favorite place in the world. I've been trying to talk my wife into moving there for years. But one thing about the food you were talking about this morning, there is differences between New Mexican food and Mexican food. So I don't know if you come across any New Mexican places down there, but there definitely is a difference.
I think all types of food are different no matter where you go, but I didn't know there was a difference. To me, what I was eating was Mexican, but it was probably New Mexican. Yeah. I don't know. I ate at Tia Sophia's, and I ate at a breakfast place right there on the plaza. It was unique. It was good. Yeah. Here's the thing about the sauces, right, Ross? When you go to a Mexican restaurant here, they put red sauce on it or they put green sauce on it. Well, down there they do you want red, green, or Christmas? And they call it Christmas. And so they'll do half. Yeah, they mix the two, and they just call it Christmas.
You haven't mentioned cheese yet.
Well, hey, thanks again,
most
guys.
of the sauces
Thanks,
that I
John.
put on my Mexican dishes are cheese.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of cheese.
They don't do the
any of these
queso
dishes.
thing?
You can get chips and queso, but I wouldn't say they were really pushing the cheese down the menu. It was let the flavors of everything else, the chilies, the meat, and the vegetables kind of take charge from there.
I just realized that yesterday for lunch I had a cheese, a burrito covered in cheese for lunch, right?
Okay.
And then last night for dinner, I had a rare bit, which is a burger covered in cheese. And then I woke up this morning not feeling well, and I was like, I wonder why my belly doesn't feel so.
Why do they call it a rare bit? And is it a rare bit or is it a rare bit?
It's a rare bit.
Okay, so you said I'm separating rare and bit, but you're saying it's one word.
It's one word. It is one word. And it is that's a Des Moines thing that I've learned. I didn't know that. I didn't know we actually invented stuff. And a rare bit was like created in Des Moines.
515-517-2303.
Travis says Albert City has threesome days. We should go check those out.
Threesome days?
Oh, Thresherman.
Oh. Your phonics is about as good as my math. As somebody pointed out, like 56,000 towns would be 560 towns per county. Nice mathing. 517-2303. Let's go to New Sharon. That's where Derek is. And New Sharon might be one of those towns we need to visit. Derek,
we could roll up on the Blue Yummy Garage.
Derek, what's going on?
How we doing this morning, fellas?
What's up, buddy?
My clothes look like they're back.
4 wins in a row.
Yeah, boy, that's nice. Hey, you know what, fellas? I seen a beautiful falling star on the way to work this morning. Most people wish for good health or instant wealth. I wish for a friend contract extension.
Not disappointed at all, Derek, that last night your team gets up to a 20-5 lead about 10 minutes into that game. You're on pace to win that game 80-20, and then that ends up being a 15-point game. I mean, you're not looking in the mirror this morning wondering what happened the last 30 minutes of that game?
No. Heck, we put the scrubs in with 2 minutes left. Oh, besides that, Martine Rancic's boy plays for Colorado, and Jess Settles goes, I played against Martine. I hate to tell you, Jess Settles, you played against a rolling rocket. You were there 48 years.
Yeah, because Jess Settles just graduated like 2 years ago, right? Isn't that when his Iowa career ended?
I'm pretty sure.
Listen, this is the fun thing, though.
Yeah.
Nobody leans into the jokes about them like Jess Settles. Have you got a chance to meet Jess?
I've never
Travis?
met Jess.
Oh, man. Jess is the real deal. Jess is an Iowa farmer. And he will beat you to the punchline on the jokes about, oh yeah, I spent 14 years in Iowa. Best 14 years of my life.
Self-deprecation is the best,
yeah.
Right? When you understand what's taking place, you embrace it, bring it in, and just have fun with it.
Yeah. Jess Settles is an Iowa farmer and an NAIA basketball coach.
You know, Derek, Jason...
He actually does pretty good.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. He actually does a pretty good job on the call. I'll give him credit for that.
I think he does great. I love it when Jess is doing games.
Listeners are pointing out, Derek, that the Hawks live rent-free in your head 24/7.
Yeah, most of Derek's thoughts are about how to hate on the Hawks.
Hey, let's look at it, fellas. If you guys win tonight, I think you're back on the bubble for the NIT. I got you as 3rd seed coming out of the South region against UNC Wilmington.
All right, buddy. We'll be in touch. Thanks, Derek.
See you, Derek.
All right. See
Bye,
you, boy.
I got you on the bubble for the NIT.
Might be back on that bubble. Yeah, but Iowa State, that was one of those games, Ross, up 24. It was a 17.5-point spread. We said on this show yesterday, don't touch that
that's
17
right.
and
Didn't
a
even
half.
think about that.
We said, don't touch the 17 and a half because now it wasn't necessarily a bad beat, but you ended up with a 14-point win?
Yeah, 1 by 14.
Yeah, 1 by 14. Sitting there and you're
but
thinking...
Trav, this played out exactly the way that we said yesterday.
Yes.
You're going to be up big. You're going to be able to put in the guys that don't get a lot of time. You might get a couple of big shots late from Colorado, and it knocks us. So stay away from this game. Minutes last night for Caden Fish, Cade Kelderman, Demarion Watson, JT Rock in the game for a couple minutes. These are names you haven't seen in a lot of box scores.
And probably won't see in a lot of box scores moving forward, unless there's some blowouts. Not going to be a blowout this weekend as you go to play number 5, Houston. Now, Colorado, to start the game, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Let's see, their first made basket, they had some free throws. First made basket came at the 14:52 mark. And then their second made basket, Ross, came at the 9:53 mark.
Wow.
So they only had 2 made baskets within the first 10 minutes and 8 seconds of the game.
I do remember, was it under 10 minutes that it was 20-5?
Yes. Because when they made the basket at the 9:53 mark, made it a 23-9 game. And that was their second made basket. Iowa State was up big at half, never let go, goes on to their 4th straight win, and gets ready for the showdown with Houston this week.
Again, I kind of joke about, you didn't pull away and destroy them. Yeah, you were up 15 points and you maintained that lead. That's what you're supposed to do, and that's what you're supposed to beat conference teams at home like this when you're going to be a top team in the country. If you are a top team in the country. That's Iowa State did exactly what they were supposed to do last night. Trav, I fell asleep before the game was over.
Well, when it's
again,
boring,
maybe
that's what happens.
Partly all the cheese that I'd consumed throughout the day as I'm looking back on it. But yeah, I hate to call it boring, but towards the end of that game, I fell asleep.
Now, if it would have been a close game, I would have given you a hard time. But when it's a blowout, you're like, okay, I can go to bed. I can fall asleep. There's nothing wrong with that. 515-517-2303. You can follow us on X at Rush Mornings. We're here till 8 o'clock today. Good to have you along. Good start to the day, and I hope you're staying warm on this brisk Wednesday. At least that's what it is in Central Iowa. It is the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive.
Doug Burgess, Service Manager here at Willis Infinity. As we move into 2025, I want to say one final thank you for what 2024 has brought to us. Getting the opportunity to meet many of your customers, and for you, voting us the #1 Google-ranked dealership in the Midwest. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And to know why, and to have that Willis experience yourself, stop on in or go online to make your appointment at willisinfinity.com.
The largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbox to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know. High quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage & Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage & Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage & Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
When it comes to mortgages, no one is more trusted than Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines. With more than 25 years of experience, Gary has been Iowa's top mortgage banker for the past 5 years. With creativity and professionalism, Gary is dedicated to finding unique programs to help you afford the home you deserve. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank/Gary Presnall. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's Valentine's month and sweet deals are in the air. Hi, I'm Josh Romick, Service Manager at Willis Lexus. We have our popular Spend More and Save More with up to a 25% discount on services over $1,000. And don't forget about our Lexus Tire Price Match Promise. Find the right tire at the right price. We'll match any advertised price on tires. If you'd like to schedule, give us a call or visit us online at willislexus.com. Have a happy Valentine's Day.
Not too many places hit all the right notes. But when it comes to great atmosphere and delicious scratch-made food, Truman's is the name to know. Game days are for Chiefs fans, but every day is for the food fans. Truman's, get to know us by name.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Listen to the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive all day long. Just go to therushradio.com. hit that listen live button, and after the show, we just loop this thing 24/7, so you never miss a minute of the show. And if you want to download it on your favorite podcast app, you can do that as well. We're pretty easy to find. Just search The Rush with Travis and Ross. Got a couple comments coming in about college basketball, and JB asks, does that big loss against KU look worse now? And he puts that up there because KU got beat by 34 last night. 34, which is the second worst loss, I believe, in Bill Self history at KU. And Bill Self said last night it didn't matter who BYU was playing because they would have beat anybody in the country the way they were playing last night. And that happens. A loss to KU does not look bad. KU is still a really good basketball team. It's just their seventh loss. You're talking about the preseason number one ranked team. They're just not. They're not the team everybody thought they were going to be.
Yeah,
and
completely agree here, Trav. A loss at Kansas is not. I mean, Kansas has to have a really bad year for a loss at Kansas to actually affect you in a negative way. I don't think that the conference does this thing that we do as fans. When I say the conference, I'm sorry, the committee. That when they're getting ready to sit down, they obviously look at these losses. What they don't do, I don't think, is look at the second cousin of the loss, meaning, oh, they lost at Kansas. Well, Kansas lost to BYU. They don't do that. Because each individual night, things can happen, and you just take those individual performances and pull those and say, okay, they lost at Kansas. What does that mean? They lost at Kansas. That means they're getting line because everybody loses at Kansas. Not everybody did lose at Kansas this year, but most of the time everybody loses at Kansas. Not that big of a deal. And in fact, a loss at Kansas, Trav, even when I say Kansas would have to have a really bad year, Kansas would probably have to have a couple of bad years to ruin that reputation that a loss at Fog Allen actually has right now. Quite frankly, I want to be careful not to, but it's kind of like a loss at Hilton.
Yeah. Or Cameron Indoor.
Right. The committee would look at that and go, yeah, everybody loses there. Not that big of a deal.
And by the way, with 7 losses, Kansas already having a bad season.
Kansas standards.
By Kansas standards.
Right.
They were in the AP poll dropped down to like 19th or 20th. They were 25th in the coaches poll.
But you had pointed this out, Trav. Their BPI is still
very, very high.
Yeah. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cyclones are 8 in BPI, 11 for Kansas.
And I like what Hunter Dickinson said after the loss last night, because I think more players need to say this when it comes to scrutiny. We heard the Notre Dame coach yesterday just go off and slam the microphone and say, "Don't be picking on these kids." Hunter Dickinson last night goes, "You know what? We deserve to get picked on in today's NIL world. We're getting paid, and when you get paid, you have expectations, and if we're not living up to those, we're going to be criticized." And for a player to say that, it's acknowledging that you're getting paid to play and you're getting paid to perform, and people expect wins, and if you're going to lose, not to get beat by 34. I think that's pretty a mature thing to say, instead of a coach going, "Don't be picking on these kids. They got to be in Boston College at night, fly home and go to class." Yeah, you got to do that, but they've been doing that since college athletics started. Hunter Dickinson's just saying, yeah, we deserve the criticism because we're getting paid and we are paid to be here to win. Do you agree with that, Ross?
Dude, in a way.
I think he's owning it is what he is.
No doubt it is the way it is. He's owning it. He is owning it. I thought you were asking me about that last that kind of last thought or premise that you threw out there about, if they're being paid, does that mean that now it's okay to criticize them? And my thought was always, these guys are competitors. Not that I was ever encouraged people to boo the players, but let's not pretend like all of us were saints when a kid wasn't great on the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fans booed. Fans were unhappy with players' performances and would do things, right? The guys getting paid, like, do you remember when Hassel did the video about Little Lick?
I don't.
About Todd Licklider's kid being on the team. And it was like a highlight clip. It was like clips of him, like, chest passes into the stands and bricking shots and stuff. And we all laughed at that. I mean, it makes me chuckle thinking about it. That was a kid that wasn't getting paid for anything. You know what I mean? So I've never been one that was like, hey, we can't criticize the players.
No, either
I'm
of
not
us.
I'm not encouraging criticizing players. And I mean, back in the 90s, I'm not going to encourage criticizing the players, but they are the man in the arena. They are the man in the arena. And if they can't, and not like we should test them with the fire, and Zach McCabe's a great example of it, right? Remember Zach McCabe? He's the kid that played basketball for Iowa, missed a big three against Iowa State one night, and Iowa fans, of course, go on Twitter and say, "You suck, you're the worst," which you shouldn't do. You shouldn't do. But he fires back the middle finger emoji. Hey, Hawk fans, and he gives them the middle finger emoji. Does this ring a bell at all?
It doesn't. I remember the name. I don't remember the middle finger emoji.
We were probably a decade or more ago. You'd have to look that up. Somebody to remember when this was. But so then you look at it, you go, man, if you wouldn't have gotten over the line, the kid missed a shot. And by the way, he was a really good player. And let's talk about that for a second, because somebody's going to hear me say Zach McCabe was a really good player, and they're going to go, oh, well, if you look at his stats. I see Jason up here right now. It says Kansas isn't even that good this year.
And they only have 7 losses.
This is what we do with I catch my son doing this all the time. Kirk Cousins, he sucks. Tua, he blows. This is an NFL quarterback. The other guys are trying really hard too, right?
I mean, every Iowa quarterback's been criticized for the last 15 years.
Exactly. Long before they were being paid, we were taking calls about Spencer Petras, right? We were taking calls about Nate Stanley. Remember the theory that we'd heard about Nate Stanley?
No.
Was it Nate Stanley?
I'm getting corrected. Kansas has 9 losses. It's still 9 losses. For the majority of college basketball
17
teams.
17-9. Yep, 17-9.
For the majority of college basketball teams, that would be acceptable.
They have the number 11 BPI. The computer says they're the 11th best team at what they do in the country. They're not very good compared to what Kansas usually is.
And with
even that you can't say. Even that statement you can't say.
And even I think what the NCAA pre-bracket had them a 4 seed.
So come on. What is, man, expectation is the number one ingredient for success. I should put that on a T-shirt because that's like my saying.
But it also shows you, as much as people hate Kansas, which I get, totally understand, they know how good Kansas basketball is.
And Tyler, I'm just using BPI because that is the power index that ESPN has like on their first click thing. So I was literally, I just clicked that because I wanted some sort of metric to see where Kansas was on some sort of national, computer metric. And that's BPI is what ESPN uses as their thing. So if you've never heard of that, get in line. Neither had I until a couple of weeks ago. But when you go to ESPN and you click on like the rankings and you can hit, we'll see the schedule standings or the rankings. One of the things you can see right there is BPI, and it's just a power index that they use. So if I wasn't so lazy, I'd go look up the net.
But I guess my point was, at least a player is going, yeah, I understand the criticism. I understand why people are upset. We're getting paid. Now, it leads into a whole other discussion. Should we pick on players? That's You're right, Ross. We've done it since the beginning of time, before they were getting paid. But at least he's acknowledging it. Yeah, I get it.
This is why words matter. I'm not trying to be a dick here. Should we pick on players? No. Do we pick on players? Yes. Do we blame the person that makes the mistake on the field? Yep, always have. This thing that, but again, we do that. I think what we do is, I think it's like a society ego thing where we think we have more of an impact than we do, and so we think that it's somehow, this is what this is going to matter. Yeah. So I just think that there's weird things that happen here.
Iowa's in a weird case because we don't pick on the players as much as we pick on the coach. Right? I mean, it's gotten beyond the point where the players are the problem. It's the coach is the problem. And Iowa's going to be home tonight to play Oregon, a 7:30 game at Carver Hawkeye. Oregon had lost 5 straight. They've won 2 in a row now. They're 4-4 in true road games. This will be an interesting game tonight because it's like what Iowa team's going to show up. They're going to take on an Oregon team that's extremely athletic, that can score some points. They average around 75 points a game. Well coached. Dana Altman is a great coach. One of the best X's and O's guys in college basketball. It's going to be, can Iowa play defense tonight? And that's what it comes down to almost all the time. Can Iowa play defense? So I'm actually looking forward to this game just because of my personal connection with a couple guys on the Oregon staff, Dana Altman, Brian Fish, Kevin McKenna. I know those guys pretty well, but the Ducks flying into Carver Hawkeye. The Ducks and the Hawks.
7:30 tip on BTN. Cole says, might go to bed at 7. No, and that will be the case. I'll be watching this, and I'll be rooting for the Hawks. But what are my expectations for tonight? I
have 0.
And I kind of am in that boat, man. What are they playing for? Technically, they're still playing for their life in the Big Ten tournament. Like he jokes about, Derek joked about, they're on the bubble for the NIT. They're a couple of big losses away. They're a couple of bad losses away from Rutgers going back over the top of them. Where are they at right now in the Big Ten, Trav? They got to be. I mean, dude, they're 7. They are right near that edge of being cut out. So
living on the edge,
I hate this,
and
again,
not easy games ahead.
No, we've talked about this, man. You got some tough dogs coming up still. Only you got Washington and Northwestern. Those games aren't world beaters, but you're at Northwestern.
I think the only game I look at.
Hate to say must win, but man, for momentum, to get things going the right direction, to get in as you're going into the postseason, to have life, to get some folks there from Michigan State for senior night in a couple weeks. I don't know. I'm grabbing at what these thin straws are. The truth is, I've learned this over the years. You know this too, Trav. The players don't need this sort of motivation that we're talking about.
No.
They want to compete. They're ready to play. They want to go out and win. That's why you get teams that come in and upset teams, and because it's still Division I athletes who want to get out there and get after it. But for us, for fans, what does tonight mean?
I think we just watch. If they play well, you're happy. If they play bad, you're not surprised.
Enjoy the moment. You're right.
515-517-2303. Coach Hersom, welcome to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. What's going on?
Long-time listener, first-time caller
to this show.
At least to the new format. To the new format for sure. I don't know if I'm supposed to say like 5'11" in my weight, but
we don't have any dings.
Travis, you've gone from above me to below me now, so I don't think I'm going to do that. Which is good for you.
Thanks, man.
No, Kansas. I mean, you have bad nights. I was at Fog Allen for the Iowa State game, and Iowa State could not hit water if they fell out of a boat that night. it was a bad night, and Kansas was on, and that place is, once again, it was lit. It was their student section. I mean, you get disappointed sometimes. I saw several tweets last night about the Iowa State student section because there's a lot of empty seats where the students are supposed to sit, and there's nobody there. And I get it; it's cold, but Kansas, you go play at Fog, it's a different thing. And they had a bad night. They've had a couple of bad nights. But, if you don't think that's a team that could beat anybody at any time, you're wrong.
Yeah, and with anybody in the country, they can play with anybody in the country. That's how good they are. But for Kansas standards, they're not elite. They're not in that. They're not one of those top dogs that you would say, can Kansas play with, can they play with those teams? And I think that's what that perspective, man, Kansas isn't even that good this year.
Well, and that's weird because I guarantee you, if you get a bracket come out and they slip to a 4, 5, heck, maybe even a 6 seed, hard to say or whatever, you don't want that team in your bracket. You know what I'm saying? You just I don't want to see that. And once again, you look at the NCAA tournament. I mean, there's only one time in history that 4 number 1 seeds made the Final Four. You don't want that team in your bracket. Absolutely not. The only thing that could be weird is if they slip below the 4 and don't get the pod, so they actually have to travel outside of Wichita, because they're probably, if they stay in the 4, they're still going to probably get Wichita, and that'll be that.
Good stuff, Coach. Are you on the road today?
Yep. Now, you know what? I don't know if you've seen the weather. I watched the Weather Channel. In fact, it's on right now. I need to be in Arkansas, but 12 to 15 inches of snow fell between here and there, and on the track I need to go look at. So I'm going to wait till the weekend and then head down there.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Take care,
Stuff
Coach.
happens.
Keep us in the loop, man.
Your kids have school today?
2-hour delay again for Audrey.
And Greta got canceled again. So she didn't have school on Monday. She didn't have school on Tuesday. No school on...
But listen again, I hope this warms up people the way it warms me up. This is what I'm looking at. High today is 8. High tomorrow is 13.
Oh, that's a heat wave.
Wait what I'm telling you. Okay, so Thursday, 13 degrees. Monday, high of 51. Come on, that warms you up a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
It gets you excited.
Gives you something to look forward to. It's like going on vacation, right? Oh, I'm 4 days away from enjoying.
And next week
a little break.
it is high of 51, high of 49, high of 47. Only one time is it below freezing next week. And I put this in perspective. When it was 11 degrees below zero, just yesterday morning, 24 hours ago, 11 degrees below zero. That's 43 degrees below freezing. So think of the difference between 43 degrees and 86 degrees. The difference between 43 degrees and 86 degrees. That was the difference yesterday morning between the temperature and freezing.
Thanks for giving us perspective. I appreciate it.
So we've got through that, and now it's all warmer days ahead.
Tony writes in on the group chat and says, I appreciate the Iowa administration and men's basketball trying to get students in the building tonight with cheap beer and food promo. Cold night, likely an empty building. I'm glad they're trying because they got $2 beers and they got $2 pretzels. Is it too little too late, though? I mean, here you are at the end of the season. Now you're like, what do we do to get people here?
Well, okay, but we can't. I want to be careful that we're not bitching that they don't try things and then bitching when they do, because is it too little too late? I mean, yeah, Trav, the truth is it's probably too little too late on not just this season, but this administration. You can throw all the gimmicks in the world at the board for next year. If it's Fran McCaffrey coming back, this is the response you're going to get. And you might, Tony, I don't want to crap on the idea. This is the things you should be doing. And
all the time,
and continue to do it, even if you don't see instant success. We had Chris Connolly on talking about the Iowa Wild yesterday. I've said this for a decade. and more for 15 years. What the Iowa Wild does is perfect. They brought in, when they came here, they came with just the right people who did just the right things little by little. They weren't looking for instant return on their investment in the community. And now look at what's happened here years later. They get thousands of people that show up to a hockey team that doesn't win a lot of games. In Des Moines, Iowa, hockey. So what's wrong over there? The connection is gone. And you can do these gimmicks, and you should do these, I shouldn't even call them gimmicks. You should do these promotions that Tony's talking about. And we should, all as Hawkeye fans, go, yes, do that, do it. Your question, is it too little too late? Yeah. To save this ship, it is.
The thing about the gimmicks, Ross, and I've seen it at Creighton. Now, Creighton's a lot smaller school than Iowa. Creighton puts 14, 15, many times 16,000 into the CHI Center. Now, they don't do it every game, but they have, like 3 times a year, dollar beer night. And Steve Lavin, when he was the commentator on Fox, would always do the game on dollar beer night. And he would make a big deal about it. But it became those things you look forward to during the season. You just can't do it to say, let's throw a promotion real quick just to try to get people there. You have to do it every year to where it's like, oh, it's dollar beer night that night. And you look at the season and you look at the schedule and it's like, it's on the schedule, dollar beer night. And it's pre-planned. So you got to be consistent with those.
Be consistent and keep at it and do this stuff so that when the next administration comes in and and they try to make that connection, or because when you get a new hire, if it is a big name, you're going to get a splash. You're going to get people excited again. You're going to get some people that buy season tickets just because of the hope of it. And now if you've got those promotions built in and you've got the seating arranged right where the kids are back on top of the court and now the ship is ready to go. So I love the idea that they're doing it. Terrific. Keep at it. These last couple of games, throw as many promotion things as you can at the wall. Is it too little too late? Yes. And should they be in their marketing meetings, they should say to each other, we're not going to get the return on this right away. We are not, this is not going to draw, this ain't going to pack the place. But it's something. We're trying something. We're going to continue to try these things. We're going to continue to do all these things to get people back in the building for men's basketball. And then when the product is good, all these people that are here for the gimmicks are going to say, hey, you guys know that the game is good again, right?
The key, though, is when you are good again, and Iowa basketball at some time will be good again.
They will, absolutely.
But you got to keep doing the gimmicks. You just don't go, well, they're winning now, so we don't have to do that anymore.
Right, exactly. Now we're going to take which is what a lot of programs do. Well, now we don't need to do that. No, that's you got to build the fun. Again, go to an Iowa Wild game. My kids love going down there, have for years. We know nothing about hockey. We know nothing about it. We know when they fight. We know when they score.
You know there's a red line, there's a blue line. You might know an offsides, but that's about it.
I can tell you way more about what my kids love from the concession stand than I can about the roster.
Because like most things, as much as we want a win where we go, we want a great experience. Why do you think the Savannah Bananas are so popular? It's not the baseball. It's the experience that you get when you go to a Savannah Bananas
You can't name
game.
a single dude out there.
No. Not at all.
Okay, let's go back to something we addressed there. And do we have some time here? Or are we gonna run
about
out
2
of time?
minutes. We got 2 minutes.
Mike says, will Iowa basketball actually be good anytime soon? Mike, they absolutely can be. And I mean, like, next year, they could be a good basketball team. And the proof is all around us. The proof is all around us. In 2025, in NCAA basketball, you need a month to turn around a basketball team. A month. You bring in the right guys that have the right connections to the right players, and you turn over a roster, and you're competitive the next year. And we've seen it happen in the state of Iowa a couple of different times now. So can Iowa be good? Yeah, a guy that we know that is much more in the know than we are. When Travis and I were talking about how good of a job is the Iowa job, He told us, you guys are way underselling this. This is a great job in the country. They've got resources. They've got NIL. They're in a decent conference that's actually one that you can win in.
You're in a state that has decent high school basketball.
This thing that, well, you're at Iowa. Look up north, man. Look up north. They are one of the top teams in the country for 3 or 4 years in a row now. Well, they caught lightning in a bottle. No, they did. They got the right guy. They got the right guy. That was a great coach that had the connections, that loved the community, that bought into the community. That guy's out there somewhere. It's just not Fran.
515-517-2303. We got an hour in the books. We got an hour to go. It's great to have you along on a Wednesday morning. It is the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bobby here at Land Rover Des Moines. Just wanted to say it's February, so I invite you to come in and fall in love with a Land Rover. We've got over 43 of them in stock and 2.9% financing on select vehicles. You'll never find a better time to fall in love with something just like this. So call, click, or visit us at LandRoverDesMoines.com or stop down in the showroom and see one in person. You'll be glad you did.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Missing a quality home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make. Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the Champagne of Bars.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's $25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage and Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage and Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage and Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
Hi, I'm John Linares, sales manager at Willis Lexus, and this month we're going to help you find your perfect match. Stop out and see us. We've got great inventory of NX and NX Hybrid, TX, and ES. We have more inventory arriving daily, and this month Lexus has also brought back the very popular 42-month lease. Stop out and see us or visit us online at willislexus.com.
Largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbox to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
With over 260 beers on tap, El Bait Shop isn't just another craft beer bar. It's the best. Beer lovers know El Bait Shop, 200 Southwest 2nd, Des Moines.
Do you have a pest problem? With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's local expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly pest solutions at a fair price for your home or business. Call us today at 515-218-3400.
Number 2 of the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. If you're driving a car, I hope you bought it at Willis. If you're looking for a car, buy it at Willis. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video you're watching right now if you happen to be watching us on YouTube, and set your notifications up so you can be alerted every time we go live. You know, Ross and I were talking, we're going to go live at 6 to 8 every morning, but there will be other times where we go live. So you never know when that's going to be. But you will if you set up those notifications. Follow us on X, like our Facebook page, and, of course, follow us on Instagram. I'm Travis Justice. He's Ross Peterson. Ross, you know, we are a radio show with more of a sports flair to it, but we tend to go off on some things. We'll talk college baseball at the bottom of the hour. ESPN's Kyle Peterson going to be joining us. Iowa going to be on a road trip at Florida. But tomorrow, maybe. I'm working on this because I don't know his level of whether he wants to talk about it. Talk about a small world. Very, very small world. My wife's first cousin, her husband, was on the plane that flipped upside down in Canada.
No way!
Yes. So I wrote Stephanie last night. I said, hey, this may be too soon. Would Aaron want to come on with us and just talk about the experience? And so he's actually flying home today from Canada. That's the question I would ask. Like, when you get back on a plane, what are you feeling? So I'm waiting to hear back. We may have him on tomorrow to just describe everything that happened. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, am I okay with that?
I thought that would be up your alley. But he hasn't said yes yet. But I just want to point out.
So I'm also, yes, I would love to do that and talk to him about that and have him to be able to see this. That's the cool part of this. We're going to be able to see him. Oh, my God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But you and I both have been through traumatic shit.
Yeah, we've been through tornadoes.
Yeah, which, again, I'm not trying to compare the two things. I'm just saying that there is I was 4 when I went through mine, and I'm 46 now, and I still have these lingering things of it. But for a long time, it was a real defining thing. I hated talking about storms. I hated clouds. I hated clouds. Dark clouds would put me in a shell. I mean, like, I run into my first grade teacher now, and she'll, like, laugh about it when she sees my kid. She's like, oh, if you knew how many times I had to comfort your dad while he was crying under my desk. Well, what made my dad cry under the desk? Clouds. He'd look out the window and see a dark cloud and think a tornado was coming. Yeah, think a tornado was coming to kill him.
Get in the bathtub right now.
Yeah, and so I want to be cautious of that too, because I know I can't imagine, dude. The video of that is
the fact that nobody died is incredible.
Unbelievable. The fact that could even happen, like when I saw the video of that plane, or the picture of it, I'm sorry, upside down, I thought, how the hell does that even happen?
Well, I saw a video of it today. I don't know if you've seen the video.
Yeah, from the other cockpit as it's and I saw some people saying like, oh, you know, because I obviously, whenever there's a possible conspiracy theory, I get tagged in it at some point. And somebody was like,
that guy now. Ross needs to know about this.
Hey, Ross. Well, I've been that guy since my Michelson days, unfortunately. But one guy was like, hey, don't you think this is odd that this pilot was filming this? And I said, not at all, because there were heavy crosswinds is apparently what caused it. And I can't wait to talk to this if we get to hear some of this. But I thought that the fact that it was heavy crosswinds, they were just filming it because weird stuff happens, probably doing it to either learn something from it or in case something happened to be able to watch. I mean, a couple of legitimate reasons I can think of. They would have known that plane was coming in. They would have known they were going to have that view. They would have known that there were heavy crosswinds. Doesn't seem odd to me that he was that a pilot was filming that.
But yeah, when that popped up on Facebook yesterday, and Stephanie's is Antoinette's first cousin, I'm reading this going, holy crap. And then I just wrote her, and she goes, well, he's not coming home till tomorrow. And she wrote me this morning. She goes, I'm picking him up at the airport at 7:30. I said, well, I got a guest at 7:30. I said, let's try to do tomorrow. And then I got to thinking, oh, he had to get on a plane and come home.
Man, think of that. Just put yourself in that. That'd have been hard, man.
It was. Man.
Corey says it was a maintenance guy in the other plane that was filming. I hadn't seen that, but again, it didn't seem odd to me that somebody would be filming that.
Now, to me, there's video cameras everywhere,
Yeah.
and for some reason, and I think there's some people who just like to film like landings, and it looked like a normal landing, right? It's like coming in, and then you see the flames burst up, and that thing just does a 180.
Barrel rolls.
Yes. But I reached out. No guarantees.
Okay.
But
thanks. And what a small world. Wow.
Yeah, very small world. I mean, there was only 80 people on that plane. I say 80, but what are the odds that you would know one of the 80 that were on that plane going to Toronto?
8 billion people in the world. Wild. Well, hopefully and again, more important, just glad he's okay, and wonder what this flight is like today, man.
I would be like gripped.
You'd have to give me the B.A. Baracus. You know what I mean? Remember Mr. T in the A team? They had to drug him every time they wanted to get him to fly in Murdoch's helicopter. I ain't getting in that helicopter, fool. And then they'd shoot him in the neck, and he'd pass out, and they'd drag him over. And he'd wake up in the helicopter. What's going on?
What I do, when and if I do talk to Aaron, I want to ask, because that was a Delta flight, I believe, from Minneapolis to Toronto. If you're on a plane crash like that, do you get to fly free the rest of your life?
I love where your brain goes, dude.
All I'm thinking is, you fly free in first class the rest of your life. I know that, and I'm not even trying to be funny here.
Trev. I love it. Have you seen the video of the dude that starts filming from inside the plane?
Yeah, as they're all getting off.
Yes.
And all I can think of, you remember the scene in Officer and Gentleman when they do the dunk tank, and they drop you in the water, and and you're upside down. And then you have to try to figure out how to get up. And they're like, follow the bubbles because that's up, because you're disoriented. Can you imagine you do the barrel roll? My God. You're like, what just happened? You're upside down. You're probably like, where are you? How do I walk?
How do you get out of your seat?
How do you get out of your seat?
You're going to have to do a somersault. You're going to have to Sean Johnson your way out of the seat, first of all. Do you take the time to grab your bag? I'm kidding. Yeah, no, you get the hell out of the plane. This is what's funny to me, though, Trav. I envision you being on that plane and the camera, the guy in the back's like, oh, my God, we just crashed. And they're getting out, and all of a sudden you hear Travis go, I'm rich, bitch.
Well, because Tony just said, how many law firms have contacted me regarding the lawsuit? That may be a question we asked. And where do you sue? Well, I guess it would just be Delta. You wouldn't have to use Canadian authorities. But you know how they tell you to put your seat upright, your tray table up, and buckle up? Buckle up.
And I do think, some people, they see this stuff and they go, oh, man, this makes me not want to fly. And I will tell you that I kind of have that opposite thing. I look at it as there's millions of flights that happen. And these are so rare. We do find out about them. And so I think it means that, like there's this old adage about after there's a tragedy, go to that place because it's cheap to fly. Everybody's given discounts on hotels, and the chances of a bad thing happening again are so slim.
it's still the safest way to travel. If you want to get in your car and drive to Phoenix, drive to Florida, you're in greater danger of driving your car that far than you are of flying. I still feel safe when I'm in a plane.
All right. I love telling stories about my dad. I love him. So I didn't like flying like most people. I didn't like flying. My dad never talked about his time in Vietnam when we were kids growing up. But one day when I kind of told him, like, yeah, I don't really like flying, my dad was like, started telling me about some of the things that planes can actually do. They're built for way more than taking off and landing and flying. And so then that was my time of like, oh, okay, these things can handle a lot. They can handle a lot. And then I remember, Trav, when I went out to the Rose Bowl and we got to tour the USS Iowa. And I'm on the ship and we're getting a tour. The captain of the ship is taking me and Simon Conway and Bonnie Lucas and a few of the WHO royalty around. And I'm tagging along like a little, sheepdog. And I call my dad and I'm like, Dad, I'm on the USS Iowa. And he's like, oh, that's really cool. And I said, yeah, this boat is amazing. And my dad says, do not call it a boat. You fish on a boat. You fight on a ship. Oh. So I'm on a ship. And he says, yeah, make sure you and I said, we're with the captain and he's taking us on a private tour, seeing all this stuff. Is this like, my dad was on the USS Hornet. I said, was this like the USS Hornet? And the captain and the crew that were taking us around, they all kind of peeked and turned around, and Dad's like, a little bit different. My battleship was much older. He says, make sure you tell the captain that your dad is a centurion on the Hornet. Like, all right. So I hung up the phone. Love you, Dad. Hung up the phone, and the guy's like, your dad was on the USS Hornet in Vietnam. So yeah, amazing stories about the Hornet and what happened. So yeah, he was a centurion on the Hornet, and these dudes' eyes go boom. They're like, whoa. Travis, that means he did 100 missions off the flight deck.
Really?
100 times he was catapulted off of that flight deck and then landed back on it. Now, he was not a pilot. He was an air crewman. He'd want me to be, but rode in a plane that catapulted off of a deck, went out, did some badass shit, and then came back and landed in the sea on this.
And by the way, catapulted off and then needed to land back on said ship with a tailhook.
Yeah, I mean, and if you know, the Hornet was actually not initially a carrier. So they fabricated the flight deck onto it. It's an amazing story. And then I think I've told you this. So my dad gets done with his second tour, maybe a second or third tour. He gets offloaded from the boat, helps restock it. He stays in San Diego while the Hornet goes out and is the boat that picks up the capsule from the moon landing. So his buddies that he was on the boat with were the guys that picked up the guys that allegedly went to the moon.
There it is. There is a conspiracy theory. Hey, don't tell anybody. They just dropped us from about 25 feet. They flew a helicopter over, dropped us. Wow. Just think if your dad would have been one of those guys who picked him up.
That was so cool. When I remember when the 50th anniversary of the moon landing happened, and I went in and talked to Dad, and I was like, my mom's out in the garden, my dad's in the living room, like watching the Cubs or NASCAR. And I'm like, Dad, do you remember where you were when the moon landing happened? He's like, absolutely. And he goes through this beautiful long story of like, Hornet, we get back, I help restock the ship. They sent ships out to like, they basically put a network of ships out because they didn't know where the capsule was going to land. And then the Hornet happened to be the one that was the closest and went and actually got the guys. And he's like, it was so, me and my buddies sat at this bar and we watched the thing. We felt like we were there with our friends, and it was amazing, the connection that you felt from my dad's story. And I go out to my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, do you remember where you were when the moon landing happened? And my mom doesn't even look up, and she goes, I don't know, I was probably in a park somewhere. And I go, you don't remember? And she goes, it wasn't me landing on the moon. Why would I care about it? I love her.
Wasn't me up there.
Wasn't me or my friends. Like, I was
sent people
enjoying my life.
We just sent people to space. Yeah, it was cool when it took off and it landed on the moon. Landing in the ocean didn't really mean that much to me. Yeah. Hey, I was on a plane this weekend, and I don't know if you remember have you ever heard of the movie Champions? So it has Woody Harrelson.
I've
it's
heard
based
of this.
in Des Moines.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet, Trav. I've heard it's really good.
I liked it. Is it an Academy Award winner? No, but it was one of those. It's one of those movies like, okay, I like it, and I like Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's funny, but I was wondering, besides like the aerial shots of Des Moines, I didn't know how much of that movie was actually filmed in Des Moines. Because the basketball arena was not Des Moines for the Iowa Stallions. But I didn't know if there were other parts of that movie that were actually filmed in Des Moines. And
Man, I feel like I have seen this, Trav. I did see this. Because the young man was going to play at Drake. That's part of the storyline was that this young man was going to play at Drake and something.
Yeah.
I do. I had to look at it to remember some of those storylines in it. Yeah, that's a fun one, but I don't think it is. I don't think that much of it was shot in Des Moines,
which makes sense, right? I don't think there's any incentives to shoot movies in Des Moines.
Which again, there was for the short period of time,
until people took advantage of it and like made a lot of money, and then some people went to jail over it. Corruption. Can you believe corruption on a public handout of money? You incentivize somebody?
Never. Can't even imagine anything like that.
How can we take advantage of this?
You know what I really want to know? I want to know who uncovered the corruption so I can scream at them. That's who I'm really mad at. How dare they?
Kyle Peterson from ESPN going to be joining us right around 7:30. Before we get to Kyle, Drake's going to be at home tonight. They play UIC. A 10.5-point favorite in trying to avenge that loss. We're in this crucial time in the Missouri Valley Conference. You got Drake with a one-game lead. Northern Iowa, which has won 5 in a row. They're going to be at Belmont, an underdog at Belmont tonight. And then Bradley, which is also a game out in first, is going to be at Illinois State. So a pretty good set of games in the Valley. Yeah,
real good night of basketball in the Valley. I mean, you
with
basically
a lot
have
on the line.
The top 6 teams battling off with each other in that. In those 3 games, those are the top 6 teams in the Valley. So that's, I think I'm right about that. Drake, Bradley, and UNI and Belmont are the only 3 10-win teams. UIC and Illinois State are the next 2. Illinois State is 7-9 with a whole bevy of teams there, so that's not quite fair. I'm just looking at the MVC standings and how they pop up, but there's a group of teams tied in that 6th slot. So technically no, but.
Tyler says road dogs for UNI. Damn, didn't see that for the Panthers. But Belmont's just right there in,
That's right. Belmont,
in the
again,
shake of things.
One of those 10-win teams in the Valley. They are 10-6. Northern Iowa's 12-4. I like Northern Iowa's chances tonight. They're playing good. We've talked about this every week. We've mentioned it. The Northern Iowa seems to be getting better. Want to avenge this loss. Know that a road win can do a lot for them. Know that Belmont's on their heels in the Valley. I like Ben Jacobson's chance tonight.
You know, the last thing the Valley can afford or want to happen, because there's some parity there. I do think Drake, Northern Iowa, and Bradley are the cream of the crop. But you can't have a Belmont or a UIC go to St. Louis and win that tournament, because it's a one-bid league, and that just changes the whole dynamic of the whole thing, right? I mean, it's just that's what I don't like about the conference tournament winner in the Valley getting that automatic spot, just because you get there, and if you lose, you're relegated to the NIT.
Did you put Belmont in or out of that category that kind of changes the perception?
I put him out. But
I think that Belmont is probably right there with UNI in that perception thing. And I think my determining factor for that, Travis, is going to be overall wins at the end of the season. That's why I was really hoping that Drake would continue that run through the Valley and, man, get into that 27, 28, 29 win mark. How do you turn that team down? Or at least if that team does loses at Arch and gets turned down, that's enough to kickstart a conversation that is desperately needed, that every year gets a little bit of traction. And then it dies all season long. And then the next year a team has 28 wins and doesn't get in. It gets a little bit of traction.
515-517-2303. What we're going to do, we're going to break a little bit early because Kyle Peterson's in the studio now, waiting to come in and talk a little college baseball. Iowa's going to be in Florida this weekend, actually play Notre Dame on Friday. We'll talk about the Big Ten implications with all the new teams coming into the Big Ten, plus college baseball as a whole. And maybe we'll get Kyle to tell some Milwaukee Brewers stories when he played for the Brewers. And I always love it, the fact that, Tiger Woods lived on his floor when he was at Stanford, which is always an interesting story with Kyle. So Kyle Peterson joins us next on the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bobby here at Land Rover Des Moines. Just wanted to say it's February, so I invite you to come in and fall in love with a Land Rover. We've got over 43 of them in stock and 2.9% financing on select vehicles. You'll never find a better time to fall in love with something just like this. So call, click, or visit us at LandRoverDesMoines.com or stop down in the showroom and see one in person. You'll be glad you did.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Missing a quality home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make? Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the Champagne of Bars.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's 25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's 25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's 25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage & Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage & Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage & Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
Hi, I'm John Linares, sales manager at Willis Lexus, and this month we're going to help you find your perfect match. Stop out and see us. We've got great inventory of NX and NX Hybrid, TX, and ES. We have more inventory arriving daily, and this month Lexus has also brought back the very popular 42-month lease. Stop out and see us or visit us online at willislexus.com.
Largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbox to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
With over 260 beers on tap, El Bait Shop isn't just another craft beer bar. It's the best. Beer lovers know. El Bait Shop, 200 Southwest 2nd, Des Moines.
Do you have a pest problem? With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's local expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly pest solutions at a fair price for your home or business. Call us today at 515-218-3400.
Listen to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive, 24 hours a day. Just go to therushradio.com, click that listen live link, and the show will be on a continuous loop. Or if you prefer to just load it up on your podcast channel, you can do that as well. Good to have you along on a Wednesday morning. I'm Travis Justice. He's Ross Peterson. And it's baseball season. It is baseball season, and it's college baseball season. Iowa opened up the season last week. They went 1-2 at South Florida. They're going to be in playing this weekend. They play Notre Dame on Friday, Stetson on Saturday, and then Baltimore County on Sunday, I believe. So let's bring in our college baseball expert, and I'm just going to call him ours, from ESPN, Kyle Peterson. What's going on, sir?
Hi, buddy. Good morning, guys.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Wonderful. When do you go on the road? Are you on the road yet for ESPN?
I go on the road the next 2 weekends because we're streaming 4 tournaments through D1 Baseball.
Okay.
So I'll go to Round Rock and Jacksonville this weekend. Actually, I think it was last year I saw Iowa and Jacksonville. And then the following weekend, go to Frisco and Vegas. So just go see and make sure everything's going the way it should.
So he also runs D1Baseball.com, which is the authority on Division I baseball, but they've done streaming games. So that's kind of what we're doing, Kyle. We said screw the corporate people, take it all in house, do it yourself, and I kind of like this. I like this alternative way of viewing stuff.
Yeah, I can't say totally screw the corporate people quite yet, Trev. You can. I'm going to hang around the corporate people for a little bit. Mickey Mouse has been good to me for 20 years.
They made that decision for me, Kyle, just so you know.
That's fair. But it's been interesting. This will be our third year doing it. We made the brilliant decision the first year. The first game that we had was LSU when they were number 1 and Paul Skeens was pitching. And it overrided the server, game 1. And so we figured out pretty quick that we had to change a few things. That was not that night, my number is listed as the customer service number on our website. And I had 174 messages from the state of Louisiana after the game. It was really, really fun to spend 2 hours.
How many of those 174 were actually, legible? How many could you hear and understand?
I mean, I think a few might have got into the sauce, and mind you, it was a 2:00 game, so it was an early start for them. But they like their LSU baseball, which we love. We've got them not this weekend, but next weekend down in Frisco. But they also like it when they can actually see it.
Can we start right there, Travis? Like, what is it about that, Kyle? That LSU, it's got to be more than just the weather. It's got to be something cultural. There has to be something else, or maybe several things that make that such a phenomenon when it comes to attendance and just passion in college baseball.
So this is a while ago, but it goes back to Skip Bertman. And when Skip got there, the baseball history at LSU was very minimal. And the fan interest was very minimal. And Skip came from Ron Frazier's staff at Miami, and their approach was, we want to make sure that everybody wants to come to the ballpark, like everybody. To the point that he put changing tables in the men's and women's restrooms, which 30 years ago was unthought of. But he wanted to make sure that if you wanted to bring your little kid to the game, that you can go change your diaper in the 4th inning and not have to leave. Like stuff that most people would never think about at that time. But Skip and Ron Polk are really the two that started, I would say, the SEC kind of explosion in baseball. And then he got good. I mean, they won 6 national titles when he was there. And obviously when you start winning, they like you a lot more. I didn't really like it as much because they knocked us out one year, but that was the beginning. And I think that was kind of the beginning of this college baseball renaissance. But because before then, it was pretty West Coast driven sport, and it's great baseball, but it's a very different fan environment. You're not getting 12,000 to go to a Stanford game. But what they did is they turned it into an event, and then the league caught on and realized, hey, we can do real revenue. I mean, Ole Miss made $1 million last year in their baseball program.
Wow!
So you figure out that, and not everybody's making that kind of money, but it's a legitimate, makes sense investment in that area of the country because they show up.
I couldn't remember. Did you give up a home run to LSU in the College World Series?
What the hell?
Well, I would tell if I accurately answered your question, a home run is inaccurate because it was multiple home runs. So, yeah, there was a few that year.
Trav, it's skipping my brain right now. How many home runs did you give up in the College World Series?
Zero.
Oh,
oh man,
yeah.
impressive for the number of innings that you threw.
Yeah, it was. You were on that day or days, whatever it was for you, Trev.
Kyle Peterson from ESPN joining us on the Rush Radio Show. Iowa, Rick Heller's done a good job at Iowa. I think there's expectations.
Really good job.
They didn't live up to him last year. I think the bullpen's going to be a key this year. The bullpen gave up leads last week in Florida. Weren't able to hold on to it. As your assessment of Iowa, let's start with Iowa. What's your assessment of Iowa, and how can they fare in the Big Ten that has changed dramatically this year?
Well, they got to throw more strikes. I mean, that was the biggest thing. They had plenty of stuff last year. I mean, Breck signs for well over $1 million, and Marcus Morgan's got really good stuff, but he walked a guy an inning. And even Obermueller, who's back and threw great in game one for him, walked a ton of guys last year. That was their biggest thing, is they just walked way too many guys. They were much better this weekend. I mean, I went back and looked at the numbers today. Obermueller walked 2, struck out 10. Sabry, who really had, I think, 2 starts last year, walked 2, struck out 10. If they get that from their starters, and really primarily just not putting guys on, they got a real chance. I think they were a good defensive team last year. They made 8 errors in 3 games.
Wow.
Which they haven't seen the sun in 2 weeks. Like, USF has been outside forever. And I think that's what you see early with some of these teams that go south, is defensively they're not quite there because they've been on the field. I think they'll defend. Now, they lost a lot defensively. And so it's whether you can piece it together at that point. But if they throw enough strikes, I mean, man, Rick's had a really good run. Like, it is not easy to win in this area of the country. They won 40 games a couple of years ago. They take Indiana State to the brink in the regional. I think he's done a hell of a job. But I think that's the biggest thing. He goes and gets Sean Kenny as a pitching coach. If they throw enough strikes this year, I think they'll be fine.
All right, so Travis, can we get into the conversation about the legislation? You got other things you want to?
Let's start while we're on Big Ten baseball. You've got a lot of new teams coming to the Big Ten. What does that change the dynamic of the Big Ten? Do those West Coast teams, because Oregon's ranked number 11, I believe. Nebraska's ranked 23rd in the D1 baseball poll. But with USC and Oregon, does that add a lot to the Big Ten, and will it benefit the northern teams?
It adds a ton. I mean, UCLA went 4-0 opening weekend. SC went 4-0 opening weekend. Oregon has been knocking on the door to come to Omaha every year. Michigan had a huge opening weekend. They went to Puerto Rico and walked off Virginia in the opener. Virginia's the number 2 team in the country. So Nebraska beat Vanderbilt. There was some big opening weekend wins within the Big Ten. Penn State beat Mizzou. Penn State beat UConn. UConn's a team that's been in supers lately. So I actually think that the league, from an expansion standpoint, obviously football benefited. Women's basketball clearly benefited because of how good SC and UCLA are right now. Baseball really benefited. And I know UCLA's hadn't quite been UCLA the last few years. They will be. There's just too much history there. You figure at some point SC is going to be back to where they're really relevant. Washington was in the College World Series a couple of years ago, and Oregon's a hell of a brand. I think it definitely benefits the league, and I think it benefits everybody else in it because it forces everybody else. And it's been happening. Like Michigan playing for a national championship, Indiana getting to Omaha, Nebraska's good baseball history. The league has started to raise itself from a baseball standpoint. This will raise it more.
Does it raise? The league has gotten better. Does that benefit Iowa?
Yeah, I think it benefits everybody as long as you make a financial commitment. That's the biggest thing is back to the LSU SEC component, right? If a couple of them are doing it and they're having success, both on the field and from a financial standpoint and fan base standpoint and everything else, more feel like, well, we better do it too. Maryland's been knocking on the door of Omaha multiple times. So I think it can benefit anybody in the league, but with it has to be a true financial commitment. We're really going to try to win in this sport. It sounds like you want to get into the scholarship thing in a minute. That's going to be part of it. If you can fund 34, how many is everybody going to fund?
Well, yeah,
that's the biggest question nobody knows right now.
Maybe, Kyle, when you say that financial commitment, can you kind of explain what that would mean at Iowa? Would that mean a new stadium or an upgrade to the stadium? Would that mean millions of dollars in facilities plus millions in NIL? What sort of financial commitment would be required at Iowa to make not to create LSU,
right,
but to create something that was competitive and fun and drew people.
Yeah, I haven't been to Dwayne Banks in a long time. So to
it
tell
hasn't
you that I
changed
know,
much.
To tell you that I know what it looks like now would be inaccurate. But I also don't think it doesn't necessarily need to be a palace. It just has to be something that people want to show up to. And if you could do that, I think it's plenty. And then it's a combination now. I mean, we get 11.7 scholarships this year. Theoretically, you can give 34 in the fall. That's a massive difference.
Wow.
I mean, it's probably the biggest difference of any sport out there that I know of. And some places have come out and said we're going to fully fund it. Arizona State's AD came out a couple of weeks ago and said we're fully funding 34. Now, who else is going to do it? Is the entire SEC going to do it? Miami has mentioned that they're going to do it. Wake Forest has mentioned that they're going to do it. So now it's just you're shifting the shells, right? Like if that's 21, 22 more full scholarships, how much more NIL do you really have to come up with? Because so much NIL in college baseball is making up for cost of attendance in a lot of places. Now, there's exceptions. I mean, A&M's got multiple guys making well into the six figures playing college baseball, and there's others. So I don't think you need to be there, but I think you need to be on the level to where whatever the new system looks like and NIL and everything else, that you can compete enough to really be in the middle of it.
Oh, what kind of dog you got?
He's a golden doodle. Hold on, I'm gonna let him.
Hey, Kyle, trust me, we both have dogs. No big deal at all. Yeah.
Look at all those baseballs back,
brother.
Look at all those baseballs back there, and still the salt brimmed hat. Do you see the salt?
What the baseballs that are back there? What the significance of some of those?
Yeah, it's like all the signed ones that I've got. Here, get in there. There it is.
Hey, buddy. Hey, whoa.
It's a bunch. His name is Buddy.
That's fun.
There's like totally random. It's just signed balls that I collected over the course of my life and some of the bigger games. Like there's.
What's the one that means the most to you in there?
So my dad's uncle got DiMaggio to sign a ball like 60 years ago, whatever it was. So there's a DiMaggio ball up there. What do we got?
That your dad's uncle got.
Yeah. So, and it's all faded out. Like you can't really tell, but
you know it's
he's
there.
the only one on the ball.
Yeah.
My buddy played in Japan and he got Sarado to sign one.
That's really cool.
Anybody else. So it's on like the ball that he played for that he was managing for then. There's one Warren the Whip Buffett. That one's pretty good. He was at the series one year, and that's the way he signed it.
That's great.
He signed it DeWitt. I didn't even know that was
the whip.
The whip.
Warren the Whip Buffett. What else do we got? I mean, there's some Hall of Famers. There's some randoms. There's some games that I had a decent day that I kept. There's my first major league hit, which my friends that still is my favorite accomplishment of my entire life because I was a terrible hitter, and the fact that I had 2 hits in my second game and was hitting 500 in my career and made my wife take a picture of the scoreboard the next day because I knew it was never going to happen because the next time I got a hit, I was hitting like 160. But that one's up there too because that's probably the most unbelievable of all of them.
That's great, man. Thank you for doing that. That was fun. That's great.
You know, there's legislation. There's a bill. I don't know if it's the bill. It's a file in the Iowa legislature right now. There's a congressman or a representative who's got it in there to bring baseball back to Iowa State and Northern Iowa. Is it even feasible for programs that haven't had teams in years to bring back college baseball?
I mean, sadly, I think you're going to see more cut it than add it right now. And I would be – I don't know all the numbers in the business of Iowa State's athletics or athletics in general, but I think now would be a really hard time to add a sport that has, theoretically 34 scholarship players if you want to fully fund it and do it right and build a stadium and everything else when everybody's unsure about, the big congressional one right now, which is what does NIL look like and scholarships and Title IX and everything else that goes with it. So I think it'd be awesome. I mean, when I was in high school, it was when Iowa State still had a team. my parents keep everything, and there may still be a recruiting letter down there from Iowa State. But
Bobby Randall
exactly.
back then.
Exactly. So, I mean, it'd be cool just because you're a fan of more kids getting an opportunity to play. I don't know if it'd be the greatest financial decision you could make, though.
You mentioned earlier that LSU makes about $1 million from their baseball team.
Ole Miss did.
Ole Miss. I'm sorry.
Which is a great place to see a game if you want a beer shower.
Yes.
How many Division I programs are actually in the black? Do you have an idea on that?
If I were to guess, I'd say 10.
Wow.
I don't know, and I probably should know. I'll ask Kendall Rogers. I think he would know. But I would say I'd be shocked if it's, 5 more than that, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's 3 or 4 less than that.
Wow.
To be honest. I mean, I think Arkansas has to be. I'd say Arkansas, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, potentially Texas. I may be missing a few, but yeah, I mean, 10 would be my ballpark answer.
It's a thin list.
Oh, it's a very thin list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it doesn't make sense for Iowa State, which has no facilities. Cap Tim is basically a high school field at this point. Northern Iowa, I don't even know if it kept its field around.
And it sounds like what you're saying. I mean, Dwayne Banks, it's never going to be a stadium. It's never going to house, 10,000. And it sounds like what you're saying, they don't necessarily need a stadium like that. They just have to make everything around it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give people a reason to go there, and build the cool berms and put the barbecues out there and the grills all over the place. Like some of these great news, Oklahoma State is the nicest college baseball stadium I've been to, and I feel like I've seen them all at this point. And there's little stuff that they did there. Now they also spent $60 million, but you go to some of these places.
$20 million here, $20 million there.
That's 60 between friends, but they do have really nice grills, so it was money well spent. But some of these environments, Trav, you've seen the Ole Miss situation, and Mississippi State's got 12 condos beyond left field that are the greatest seats. We did a game from up there. They had a chef that was making dinner the entire night, and people trying to throw us beers, and it was awesome. And I actually didn't drink until the end of the game, which is one of the most amazing things in my career. I mean, they were
the wife take a picture of that too.
The guys behind us were smoked that it was their condo, and they're trying to throw us beer from down below. But it's just this smoke that raises in the outfield the entire game because there's like 50 grills going. I think for Midwest programs, like if you've got 4,000 or 5,000, it doesn't need to be bigger than that.
Yeah.
That's plenty, but just make it an environment that people want to show up to.
What is you mentioned Oklahoma State has the best college stadium, but what's the best, because you've been all over, what's the best environment for college baseball?
So I'll give you some bests, plural. Okay. Ole Miss is awesome. Mississippi State's awesome. A&M's incredible right now because they really got it going. I mean, LSU is just because, they're going to need to do some stuff to their ballpark, even though that was the first one. I mean, that was kind of the first palace that was built. Oh, this is always great because people get pissed at me. Trying to think around it. I kind of like Florida State's fun. I mean, they've got all these kind of weird traditions that they do, and this whole songbook and stuff is dependent upon what inning and who's up, and all the rabid people know exactly what it is.
Wow.
So I would say those. That
almost sounds like an English Premier League, like an English soccer environment that you're describing there.
It's a little different. It's a little different. I mean, you always get like the fight songs and stuff like that at a lot of them, but theirs is it's stupid. It's not stupid stuff. It's actually kind of cool. But they sing "Oh Canada" in the 6th inning for no reason. And they do it every single game, and they've done it forever. And it's all these little things, but it's this rabid base of fans, and it passes on to other people that show up.
It gets people to come back. It gives people, other than the baseball,
it's an experience.
It's an experience, right?
And that's minor league baseball, right? I mean, minor league baseball tricks you into not realizing that you're going to a baseball game. It's everything else. I realized this when I signed, and I go to Ogden, Utah to play for the Raptors. And, the first night they're chucking hot dogs into the stadium and they're driving a car around to see if people can throw foam balls into the window. And there just happens to be a baseball game. And I think if you can market college baseball a little bit more that way, back to the old original, put a changing table in the bathrooms. If your kids want to go, you're going to go. Because it gives you a reason to get your kids out of the house and go do something. It's not terribly expensive. It's 3 hours. So if you create those environments to where kids say, hey, I want to go to the game tonight, a hell of a lot more people show up.
Makes perfect sense. I know you're going to be on the road. You're going to be busy with ESPN, which you can catch Kyle on probably a lot of ESPN Plus games, but you'll see him on the SEC network, regular ESPN. Don't be a stranger. Can we do this more often?
Yeah, this is great, Kyle. Yeah. Loved it.
No, once I figured out how to do this whole StreamYard thing, I'm in.
we are going to.
You click a link.
We did have a listener. We're going to have to get you a different hat because we're sponsored by our friends at Willis Automotive. So just.
Oh yeah, so I didn't realize that. It's my buddy's place up in Ames, and then when I just honestly I hadn't done it.
I'll be honest.
I got more hair than Trav does, but
yes, you do.
It's kind of going all over the place.
And trust me, I just do a good job of hiding it. Okay, this is like 7 hairs.
Here, we'll just switch it up midstream.
Look at this guy. He was ready like a NASCAR driver. That was amazing.
Yeah, we got hats. I'm not hats and Zens. I'm not short of. You need either one of those. I got them.
I'm a Velo guy now. It's cheaper.
I just do the threes. I do the threes. Velo doesn't do threes, so I'm happy where I'm at.
I'm doing the 7s.
Well, that's all right. You may want to tell your problems to your priest here pretty quick. That's a little aggressive.
He's long overdue on that, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, I went to Mass last week. I went to Mass down in Santa Fe. First time. I went to Mass. I left happy. So
happy.
I did. I left in a good mood. All right, Kyle. We'll catch up, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a great day,
Thank you so
bud.
much, Kyle. That was great.
All right, bye, dudes. Good seeing you.
See you, buddy.
See you, man. Kyle Peterson from ESPN joining us on the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive. He's got a lot more stories that he can share.
Oh,
right?
Dude, we scratched the surface there. Come on. We were lucky enough that he walked away to let the dog out, and we got to see the baseballs and ask that question.
How about having your, hey, honey, take a picture of the scoreboard. I'm hitting 500 in the big leagues right now.
So I want to ask him, my brain, I always want to know, the behind the scenes. So in that situation, was that a situation where he prepared her? He was like, hey, at some point I'm going to get up and it's going to say that I'm hitting 500. I need a photo of that. Did that happen mid-game? Did he call up to her?
Did his next start, right? He goes,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So he prepared her for days in advance. Listen, you're ready. You got the camera, right? It's got film. You did the wind thing. It's ready to go.
515-517-2303. We'll take our last break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up today's show on the Rush Radio Show powered by Willis Automotive.
Doug Burgess, Service Manager here at Willis Infinity. As we move into 2025, I want to say one final thank you for what 2024 has brought to us. Getting the opportunity to meet many of you customers, and for you, voting us the #1 Google-ranked dealership in the Midwest. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And to know why, and to have that Willis experience yourself, stop on in or go online to make your appointment at willisinfinity.com.
The largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbox to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know. High quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage and Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage and Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage and Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
When it comes to mortgages, no one is more trusted than Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines. With more than 25 years of experience, Gary has been Iowa's top mortgage banker for the past 5 years. With creativity and professionalism, Gary is dedicated to finding unique programs to help you afford the home you deserve. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank/Gary Presnall. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's Valentine's month and sweet deals are in the air. Hi, I'm Josh Romick, Service Manager at Willis Lexus. We have our popular Spend More and Save More with up to a 25% discount on services over $1,000. And don't forget about our Lexus Tire Price Match Promise. Find the right tire at the right price. We'll match any advertised price on tires. If you'd like to schedule, give us a call or visit us online at willislexus.com. Have a happy Valentine's Day.
Not too many places hit all the right notes. But when it comes to great atmosphere and delicious scratch-made food, Truman's is the name to know. Game days are for Chiefs fans, but every day is for the food fans. Truman's, get to know us by name.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Welcome back to the Rush Radio Show, powered by Willis Automotive. Wrapping up today's show. I want to thank Kyle Peterson from ESPN coming on, talking a little college baseball. The Hawks going to be down in Florida this weekend. They play Notre Dame on Friday. He'll be a good one to have back because not only can he talk college baseball, he can talk big league baseball as well. Rob Manfred yesterday defended the Dodgers, Ross, in the way they're spending money. Right now, they have, in 7 players, $2 billion worth of guaranteed money wrapped up through 2046. $2 billion in guaranteed money wrapped up through 2046 over 7 players. It's a lot of money.
I mean, that's 21 years. That's 21 years.
But you know what? You win a World Series or two, and your investment has paid off. Probably.
I'm not smart enough to know that.
Man.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, boy. Yeah, I want to get to something here in the final minutes here, but if we're okay, because we saw our friend Jason Price send a message earlier, and now Brett just put a comment in, kind of bringing it back to the surface. So I'd like to touch on it really quickly. State Wrestling is starting today. 3A starting, I think 3A starts this morning at 9. I'm going to be heading down for 2A tonight to watch. My nephew is the heavyweight from Knoxville, Reagan Roberts. So I'm going to be down there to cheer for him. Super, super proud of him and his hard work. So it's $15 a ticket, Trav, per session. All right. So this is, there's a financial, there's an investment that needs to be made. I mean, yesterday when we had Chris on, Chris was talking about it's $1 million to the city of Des Moines. Yeah. He said, bring Greg Edwards on. He can break it down for you. And that's over the course of the next couple of weeks with these tournaments. It's expensive for people to take their families down there and experience that. Now, at the same time, $15 per ticket for the amount of entertainment that you get. If you're a wrestling fan, you go down there, there's 8 mats happening at one time. I mean, it is like overload of stimulation. But that stuff adds up quickly. And I do think that there is a conversation there about, the financial side of everything is getting reevaluated right now.
Well, it depends on how often you go. If you have somebody who you're following and watching during that, but there are a lot of people who just go to like one session just to enjoy it. So it depends on if you're going every single day. But you know what? Go to some of these AAU basketball games on the weekend, and it's $10, $12 just to get into those.
I mean, again, youth sports, man.
Very, very much so.
Fun day.
All right. Listen to the Rush Radio Show all day long, 24/7 by going to therushradio.com. And, of course, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on X, like our Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a Beer with Bruno. He'll be joining us at 7:30. So, enjoy your Wednesday, everybody. Stay warm. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bye-bye.